First story. My GF cheated on the Duckfest. This is going to be a long one. And I'm not going to use fake names because fuck the participants. They don't deserve anonymity. If they or their friends read this, it will be obvious who I'm talking about. First, the cast of characters. Me, 32M. Middle manager in a large Fortune 25 company. Fairly career-oriented now. Got my party days out of my system when I was younger. Allison, 31F. My GF of 8 years, living together the last 4. She is an office manager for a large veterinary practice. Also, my soulmate, best friend, teammate, partner in crime and future wife, so I thought. Leslie, 31F, Allison's lifelong friend since the 2nd grade. These girls are inseparable and do and share everything together. Dance classes when they were young, HS prom and homecoming. Allison was Leslie's MOH. Sorority sisters in college. More like sisters than friends. Leslie is a PA. Vicky, 31F, great friends with Allison and Leslie. Another sorority sister from college. Not as close as the other two, but nobody really is. But she is a constant companion to both Allison and Leslie. Vicky is an accountant for one of the big accounting firms. Brett, 30M, Leslie's recent husband after they dated for about 5 years. Decent enough guy, but I wouldn't call him a great friend. More like a very good acquaintance. Brett works for a large plumbing HVAC company that does sales and installation for primarily large industrial and commercial systems. A bit of a party boy who doesn't necessarily take his career all that seriously and a bit immature emo. Jacob, 29M, Vicky's LT boyfriend. They have been dating for about 4 years and living together for 1. Again, a nice enough fellow but more similar to Brett in personality than me. Jacob is a landman who contracts out to oil and gas companies. TBH, I'm not really sure what he does. I just know he travels a lot and makes pretty good money. Now the background. Allison and I met in college. She was everything I could ever want in a partner. Gorgeous, smart, funny, extrovert, responsible. We didn't start dating until we both graduated and found we would be working in the same city. We made it official fairly quickly. I purchased a house, in my name only, 4 years into our relationship and moved in together. We had a great relationship, great communication, fantastic sex. We started made good money together, and most recently with my salary plus bonus, plus her salary we clear $350,000 per year, so we are very comfortable financially. Since it was my house, and I made a lot more money. I paid the mortgage and most of the bills, and I had no problem with that. I even paid off her student loans and her car note. She saved most of her money and built up quite a healthy 401k, which I was fine with. Hell, we were going to be married soon, so it was a moot point, or so I thought. During our relationship, we hung out with Leslie and Brett and Vicky and Jacob quite often. Dinners, bowling, pool halls, movie nights, backyard barbecues, skiing, lake getaways, etc. Early on we went clubbing quite a bit, but Allison and I grew tired of that scene, so we don't do that very much at all now. The other 2 couples still club and party quite a bit. Like I said, I loved hanging out with Leslie and Vicky, and the guys were okay, but I never really got close with either of them. They were very good friends with each other, though. But we were all friendly enough and got along great. Now on to the good stuff. Since we often do stuff as 3 couples, I was fine with the girls planning a 10-day trip to Cancun for the 6 of us. We were going to stay in a really nice high-end adults-only resort. Allison and I were really looking forward to the trip as we could both use the downtime, relaxation and alone time. Unbeknownst to Allison, I was also planning to propose to her on this trip, and I had a ring waiting to give to her in Mexico. The week before the trip, wouldn't you know it, we had a crisis at work. My company needed me to stay, as is the policy in my company. If you have prepaid plans that need to be canceled last minute for critical business reasons, The company will reimburse you. So I got reimbursed for my flight and resort fee. While I was disappointed, I explained to Allison and she understood. Since she was really looking forward to going and spending time with her friends, I encouraged to go by herself and have a great time. I didn't tell her about the ring and figured I'd propose shortly after she returned. When the day came, I said goodbye and she took off for the 10-day trip. While she was there, I got a few obligatory texts and pics saying how much she missed me and wished I was there. Here's where the worm turns. On day 4 of the 10-day trip, I got a call from a very good friend of mine, David, saying he needed to talk to me. David is probably my closet friend and also works with Brett and they're fairly good friends. Anyway, while in Mexico, I guess Brett called David to ask about some work stuff and the conversation eventually turned to how was the Cancun vacation going. Brett proceeded to tell David that the trip was fulfilling some of his wildest sexual fantasies, that the 5 of them were engaging in all sorts of sexual exploits including a group orgy. The dumb fuck Brett was stupid enough to document the activities and even send some pic and videos to confirm his story, which David initially called bullshit. This is what David wanted to talk about. This next part is difficult for me to type since I have to relive some of the worst emotional pain I have ever felt. I met David, and he got right into it, telling me exactly what was going on in Cancun with the 5 of them. Like David, I also called bullshit and thought he was fucking with me until he said he has some proof that might be hard for me to see. I got super serious really quick and my stomach flip-flopped. He showed me his phone. While I won't get into all the sordid details, suffice it to say his story was confirmed and I was broken to my core. Among the stuff he showed me, there was several pictures of Allison getting spit roasted by Brett and Jacob, pics of her having anal sex while eating Leslie's pussy, and a short video of the 3 girls having a very enthusiastic lesbian threesome. I was IDK? Devastated seems too light a word to describe my emotions. The crazy thing is, we had talked about FFM threesomes before, and she always refused, saying she just wasn't into girls. She also knows one of my deepest fantasies was to watch her make love to another woman. She always laughed and said that was never going to happen. I decided then and there obviously that we were done. I asked David to send the pics and vids to me in case I needed to confront her with the proof. Over the next few days, I packed as much of her shit that I could into a bunch of boxes and stacked them in the living room. I had a locksmith rekey the locks on 4 doors into the house, and then just sat back and waited for her to return. After the trip, she was scheduled to come home late on a Monday night, landing like around 11 p.m. Since it was late, she told me not to worry about picking her up, she would Uber home. I just sat in the living room with a bourbon and waited. About 12:30 a.m., I heard her key wiggling unsuccessfully in the lock. After several attempts, she rang the doorbell. There's a window right next to the front door, and I opened that window a few inches. She asked WTF was going on and to let her in. I just said she was never stepping foot in my house ever again. We were through and to get the fuck off my stoop. She was honestly dumbfounded, yelling, "Why am I doing this?" I said, "If you don't know, you are a fucking idiot on top of being a whore and a liar." She got silent. She knew I knew. She started sobbing, begging me to let her in, saying let her explain. She just wants to talk, etc., etc., etc. I told her forget it, it's not happening and she's not coming in. Through her sobs, she asked me where was she supposed to go. I told her I left her keys in her car, and told her go back and live with her fuck buddies, and I closed the window, blocked her number, turned on some music and sat down and just zoned out. About 10 minutes later I saw her car back out of the driveway. About 45 minutes after she left, I got a call from her older brother James, who lives in the same city and is fairly close to Allison. James is a great guy, a good friend and someone who I respect and enjoy being around. He told me Allison showed up on his doorstep crying hysterically and saying she fucked up. James really didn't get any of the details from Allison, but he let her in and told her she could stay as long as she needed. James is a prince. I told James, yes, we broke up. No, it wasn't repairable and that I would tell him the story in detail some other time. When I said our relationship wasn't repairable, he immediately understood that to mean she cheated and said he was sorry. I also told James that there were about a dozen boxes filled with her shit that needed to be moved out of my house. He understood and said he would take care of it. True to his word, James and a friend showed up and took all the boxes. We chatted a bit. He said he didn't need any details but understood and agreed that cheating is impossible to come back from. Fast forward about 3 weeks. I haven't seen or talked to Allison or any of her friends since the night she left. Who should I get a text from but none other than Leslie? She asked me to meet her to talk. I told her I wasn't interested in anything she had to say. She begged and pleaded with me, said she just wanted to talk and she wasn't going to try to change my mind. On the off chance that I could get some of the why, I agreed to meet her for coffee. My conversation with Leslie was eye-opening to say the least. First, she told me how sorry she was and that what happened in Mexico was spontaneous and not planned. She said that the other couples had talked about swinging in the past, but had never done anything. Things just got out of hand, and that Allison had implied that I would be okay with her participation. She proceeded to tell me Allison was not doing well. She quit her job because she just couldn't drag herself out of bed. Had lost a ton of weight. She didn't have much to lose to begin with. Isn't taking care of herself or her hygiene very well and has rarely left the house. I took it all in with some indifference. I basically told Leslie that those were Allison's problems, not mine, and Allison would have to deal with it. I told Leslie I don't necessarily hate Allison, but I just don't care about her or what happens to her any longer. She may as well be a stranger living in another country at this point. Leslie simply could not comprehend my indifference. She begged me to talk to Allison, to let her explain and give her some closure. I told Leslie I wasn't interested in any excuses, reasons, justifications, explanations, or anything else. I didn't owe her closure and wasn't particularly interested in helping her get over her guilt. But I did have some questions. I asked if that was the first time Allison cheated on me and she sheepishly said yes, with a guy, WTH. I asked her if she and Allison had had sex before and she lowered her eyes and said yes. Apparently, they have been enjoying each other's pussies on the regular since high school. My jaw absolutely hit the floor. I was in a stupor. I told Leslie about my fantasies about Allison and Leslie already knew all about them. She had even encouraged Allison to invite her into a threesome with me, or just have sex with Allison while I watched. Leslie was turned on by the idea, but Allison refused. I can't fathom why. I also found out that this was not the first time the girls, Allison, Leslie and Vicky, had engaged in a lesbian threesome. They had not done it often, but definitely not the first time. Again, my heart just fucking sunk. So these two fucking losers, Brad and Jacob, got to share my fantasies with my girlfriend. I thanked Leslie for the talk, but told her that solidified in my mind that I wanted nothing to do with Allison ever again and told her I would also be cutting off the other two couples for obvious reasons. Leslie left the conversation in tears. I sincerely felt nothing for Allison and don't care where she winds up. But, still, it felt like a fucking elephant was sitting on my chest. So 2 questions. Am I that bad for refusing to speak to Allison? And how do I get back into dating? I'm not one for dating apps and Allison and I have been together for so long that I am out of the game. If you've read this far, thanks. Second story. Girls Tripped may have turned into me being cheated on. I don't know how to do, so please forgive me if I get it wrong. GF went on girls trip. A best friend of her called me and told me that she has cheated on me. Her best friend didn't give me proof. I confronted her and she denied it, asking why I didn't trust her. I asked for one of the guy in question's phone number. When she gave it to me, I later found out it was one of her other friend's numbers. When she went to block him, she deleted it when I questioned why the number was different. I, 23M, and my GF, 23F, have been together for 3 years. This past month, she has been as active with me, neither wanting to kiss me or touch me. When I asked about it, since we've always been active together, I got told it's because she works with elderly men who flirt and hit on her all the time, so I didn't think anything of it. My GF went on a girls' trip with 2 of her best friends. One of the girls I've talked to a lot while hanging out with my girlfriend. Before my GF returned from her trip, she asked me to not come over and to let her have a day to rest since she has not gotten any sleep on her trip. I did not think anything of that either, so I went and visited my parents instead. She called me and, long story short, she came with me to eat with my family and watch a movie. We then went to her house afterwards. I was about to take a shower when one of her best friends, the one that I've talked to a lot, messaged me and asked if I had any plans. I told her that I was planning to propose in the following weekend, as I would have 3 days off. She then told me that she had something important to talk to me about and called me. The friend informed me that while on their trip, she and the other friend were talking to my GF when GF told them that she had given oral to a co-worker while on break, and was debating going further with him. GF went on to say that she was supposed to go and meet with him at a show he puts on later in the week, but was debating that too as she loved me. The friend began to apologize to me profusely, saying that she couldn't go on knowing that I was going to propose while GF was doing this. They've known for a while that I've had a ring and was planning to propose. The friend informed me that GF was debating on whether to block him or not. The friend apologized again to me and we ended the call. I left the bathroom shaking badly and looked through my GF phone, to which she got up quickly, took it from me and began doing something on it. I then asked her if we could speak in her room. I asked her about the guy and another guy that was sending her nude pictures. I've seen messages from him pop up on her phone, but she explained that she needed his number to get her work schedule from him, to which she denied everything and kept asking me who told me this. I would ask to see her phone, but she would ignore it and keeping asking me who told me this. When she did give the phone to me, I saw nothing. I then left the house and drove to the backyard since I was shaking too much to drive on the road. I called the friend back and asked for more details and if she had any proof or anything to show me. She told me that my GF had met one of the guys and had been discussing a book involving BDSM. The friend then told me the name of the book and that my GF and the guy had continued their conversation over text. The friend also told me that when she had asked my GF if I ever checked her phone, my GF told the friend that she was not worried about it, as I only ever get on her phone to send pictures of herself to me. Not naughty photos, I just loved having pictures of her to look at when I'm having a bad day. The friend couldn't send me any kind of proof since they do not save their chats on Snapchat. The friend continued to apologize to me while crying. We then ended the call. I was lost on what to do and sat there staring off into the distance, being unable to think. She asked if we could talk and I told her we could. She came out and got into my vehicle. We talked while I drove us around. She explained to me that that conversation had not happened and that she did not do anything. I could tell that she had been crying. I asked if I could have the guy's phone number since she still had it saved, to which she gave it to me. I was then asked why I didn't believe her. As we drove, she reminded me that it was this friend that had told me about this, that had been discussing cheating on her boyfriend while on the trip, and that maybe she had done this to discredit anything my GF would have said to her significant other. When questioned about the book incident, she named off the book specifically and told me that the guy was not involved in that conversation whatsoever. During the drive I asked her if she could block the guys that I had mentioned to her. She said yes. On a side note, we have had an issue in the past. When we were first talking, she had told me a guy was flirting with her at work. Later on told me that they had hanged out after work. She also told me more or less that it was my fault. She also pointed out his house to me another time while I was driving. Since I had no concrete proof and loved this woman more than anything, I believed her. I got us food, took her home and cuddled with her for a while. While we were laying in bed, she started to block the guys. I noticed that the number she had given me was different from the number she had saved for the contact. As she was hitting the delete button, I moved my finger to swipe up. When she noticed what I was doing, she hit delete before I could do anything. When I asked about it, she told me that it must have been a different number and that she had given me the correct one for the guy. I shortly left and drove home. While on the drive, I did a quick reverse search on the number she had given me, which came back to a friend of hers. When I first asked her about it, she denied it and sent me what she had as her friend's number. Shortly after that, she admitted that it was her friend's number, and that she had given me that one since if I asked the guy what had happened, he would have spread rumors around her work about her. She is now texting me telling me that when she goes back to work, she will get the number for me so I can talk to the guy. At this point, I think I know what the answer is, but I would like opinions. I'll do my best. She wants to talk more in the morning, so I'll add an update if anything is said. I've been cheated on in nearly every relationship. My father, who I've talked to about other issues, says I've ignored every red flag in the book. I didn't believe him till today.